Hi, welcome to the screencast for your chromatography lab. Step 1 of the procedure says get chromatography paper, 4 different overhead pens, and a regular black ink pen. And really the only thing that you need to get out of that is the chromatography paper will be cut into strips and it'll be at the center island in a basket. So you need to get 5 strips of the chromatography paper. And then at your workstation, you should see that you already have the 4 different overhead pens. You're going to have orange, green, purple, and black. There should also be a regular black ink pen there for you. And there'll also be a ruler to help suspend these papers in there. So then step number 2 says about 1 inch above the bottom edge, the bottom edge of the paper, draw a thin line about 1 inch long with the black overhead pen. Now this line is going to be horizontal or across, so you don't have to be real exact in your measurement. But about 1 inch up, I'm just going to draw one line across. I don't have to make it really thick or anything. And I'm done with the black one. And then as it says, repeat this with the remaining pens, but write the color of the pen with a pencil. So somebody in your group will have to find a pencil at the top of each strip. And the reason for putting the color at the top is because when you get done, these may not look anything like what they started. So I've just indicated this is the black marker. And then I'll do the same thing. I'll take my orange pen, make an orange mark, bright orange at the top, so there's my orange marker. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same height as the other one, but about 1 inch. And then I'll continue and do the same thing with my green pen, my purple pen, and then finally with my regular black ink pen. And again, I'll just write what it is at the top of each one. Then step 4 says tape your chromatography paper to a ruler folding over the top 1/4 inch of the paper. Set the ruler across the top of your container so the paper dangles down nearly to the bottom. Now, the beakers will be wet by the time you get here, other than first hour. And so what I like to do is just kind of straighten the paper out. If you just run your nail down, you can get it to straighten out. I'm going to make my mark here a little deeper. My black pen isn't writing so well. But then the masking tape will also be over at the island. If you just go over and pull off a strip about that long, that'll be plenty for your group to use. And if you do a better job than me and keep it from curling up, you're going to need 5 little strips to attach your 5 papers. So I'm going to leave my ruler on there so I can see where they're at. And this works best if I put 3 on one side and 2 on the other side. And I should have bent that just a little bit more because I don't want it all the way on the bottom. So it looks like I can bend more like 1/2 inch over. So I want this about 1/4 inch or so off the bottom so I can add some water without the paper touching it. And so then I'm going to take a couple more. I just run my thumb down it, get it nice and straight so it hangs down. I'm going to leave a little space so these aren't touching each other. Crease it so it hangs mostly straight down. Make sure that one's off the bottom also. So now I got 3 on this side. And when I turn it around, then I've got plenty of room to put the last 2 on the back. What a lot of groups do is kind of alternate these 2 between where the 3 on the front are. It's actually trickier than you think to keep these from touching each other. But each paper has to be hanging down into its own space. So you end up with only that ink on it. So there I've managed to get all 5 of them in there and off the bottom. So then you want to take a look, get down at eye level, and see how much water you could put in without it, with it touching each of your papers, but not getting as high as the ink. So I've got my ink well up above the 200 mark. So I'm going to take this out. I'll just have one partner hold it, or in my case, since nobody will work with me, I'll just lay it down. I'm going to go ahead and fill this up to the 200 mark. And if yours was wet when you started, I should have said this. I told you it'd be wet, but I should have also mentioned go ahead and dry it out so that you don't get water on these before you intend to. And then I go ahead, I'm just going to slowly lower this down, and I'll watch and make sure that every strip is touching the water, but the ink is not touching the water for any of them. So that's what step 5 said, is to add enough water to containers so that the bottom of the paper is in the water. Do not let the water come up as high as the ink marks. And then I'm just going to wait, and you can see already if I zoom in here, my high-tech video cast, you can see that the colors are starting to move up the paper already. If we go around to the back side, these colors are separating as well. So I'm just going to let this go for probably 10-15 minutes. And what you should be able to notice is that the water will get ahead of the ink. You'll see the watermark moving up the paper a little bit faster, and the ink will tend to follow. And when the water gets close to the top of the ruler, your color should be spread out nice and wide. And at that point, you're going to take it out, get the 5 strips all separate, lay them each out on a paper towel, and then you're going to do some measuring. And the measuring you're going to do is you're going to look for how high the water got. So step 6 says, when the water on a strip reaches the ruler, remove that strip from the beaker. It's probably going to be all 5 at the same time. Do not let the water come, mark with a pencil the highest point reached by the water on the strip. And then you're going to measure from the starting line to the top of that strip, and that is your DF value. Okay, so number 6, you measure from where the line was marked on it up to where the water got to, and you record that as your DS value. And that's your DS value all the way down your data table. That's your DF value. Okay, your DF value, as it says, for water, that's going to be the same for all 5, not necessarily the same, but it is going to be measured the same way for all 5 strips of paper. And then next to that, you're going to write down what colors are showing up from that ink pen. So the black overhead pen, if I zoom in here, that's the black on the left. You can see I've kind of got some yellow or orange on the bottom, and then some red and some purple and blue. When I get all done, hopefully this will separate into just the primary colors, because that's what I've always been told, there's just 3 primary colors. So I'd go ahead and record those 3 primary colors, and then I would measure the DS for each of those. And the DS is going to be the distance from the line to where that color, the furthest point that color traveled. And it might not be a straight line across, so you'll just have to estimate what you think is the high point of it. And then we'll do some calculations with that in the analysis part of this lab.